Good afternoon, friends. Stephen Ben-Nun here with Israeli News Live, also Danuna Institute of Biblical Research. I'm not really sure. I was looking at some of the most profound and provocative things that Moses has ever said or wrote, for that matter, and Genesis is attributed to him in writing this. And so I'm looking at two different scriptures here, specifically Genesis 18 and Deuteronomy chapter 30. In Genesis 18, we read here, this is about where God is speaking to Sarah and Abraham. And we generally think of this passage as being that he's basically going to make an old lady and an old man, giving them the ability to have children. But that's not what Moses wrote. They translate it kind of like that for you, but it's not what he wrote. And I want to take a little bit of time and share this with you. Let's kind of start here from the very beginning in verse 1 of chapter 18. The Lord appeared unto him by the terebinths of Mamre as he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day. He lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, 3 men stood over against him. I'm kind of looking off to the side here as I go here, right, just to see, right? So he looks, v'yireh v'chineni shelosha Anashim, 3 men. Okay, so he sees 3 men, Nasbim Aliav. Okay, so in other words, they were off to his side right there is what he's talking about. When he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door and bowed down to the earth. And it does say roots. They are roots. That's right there. He ran, and he ran. So when it says they was next to him, it wasn't like they were right beside him. It had to be a little bit of a distance or he couldn't have ran. And he said, My Lord, V'yomer Adoni, Imna, if now I have found favor in thy sight, pass not away, I pray you, from thy servant. Let now a little water be fetched, and wash your feet, and recline yourselves under the tree. Techat ha'itz. So he does say that, right up underneath the tree, right? Techat ha'itz. I will fetch a morsel of bread and stay you your heart. After that you shall pass on, for as much as you are come to your servant. And they said, Do so as you have said. And Abraham hastened in the tent unto Sarah and said, Make ready quickly 3 measures of fine meal, knead it, and make cakes. And Abraham ran unto the herd and fetched a calf tender and good, and gave it unto the servant, and he hastened to dress it. And he took the curd and the milk and the calf which he had dressed, and set it before them. And he stood by them under the tree, and they did eat. And they said unto him, Where is Sarah thy wife? And he said, Behold, in the tent. Veyamrud Eliav, Sarah ishtacha, where is Sarah your wife? And he says, in the tent behind. And he said, and now it's Veyomer, and he said, okay, this is the Lord speaking to him, I will certainly return unto you when the season cometh round, and lo, Sarah thy wife shall have a son. Now that's what's written there. That long statement is basically covering right there. Looks about the same. But what does he actually say? Shuv ashuv elecha. The word shuv is return. But we're using the word shuv twice. When you use it twice, and also it's not just saying it shuv shuv. He didn't just say shuv shuv, which would be absolutely returning. But we have the aleph in there, and I'm pointing, you can't see what I'm pointing at. The aleph, which is I. Okay? Shuv ashuv. I will certainly or surely return to you, elecha. Ki et chaya. I will surely return you to the time of life. Vehine ben, and behold a son, la Sarah ishtecha, and behold a son for your wife Sarah. He's literally, when you're using the word shuv, shuv is to literally take you back to the beginning of wherever you were at. When God says to Abraham, I will surely return you to the time of life, and behold, there will be a son for Sarah, your wife. He's not saying, he didn't say anything, I'm going to take and give you life back to your bosom so that you can have a son. He literally is saying he's going to turn him back to a young man, to that time of life. Ke'et chaya. He returns back the life, not just life, but the time of his life. Vesara shemat betach ochel vehu achrayav. And Sarah heard in the tent door which was behind him. Now Abram and Sarah were old and well stricken in age. Zakanim, Ba'im, both of them. That's why I have it in green. They're both old. Okay? Or many days. Be'amim. And it had ceased to be with Sarah after the manner of women. Okay? Chadal, lechayot, lachsara, achrach, kanashim. In other words, she no longer had a cycle to where her body could produce eggs to begin with. And he was no different. He couldn't produce children anymore. And Sarah laughed within herself, saying, after I am waxed old, shall I have pleasure, my Lord being old also? You got to remember, God just said, see the part, maybe they didn't get what he's saying. Shuv ashuv elecha ka'et chaya. I am going to return you back to the time of your life. If you speak the Hebrew language, you know exactly what he's saying. I'm going to take you back to when you were younger. The Lord said unto Abraham, wherefore did Sarah laugh, saying, shall I of a surety bear a child who am old? Is anything too hard for the Lord? At the set time I will return unto you when the season cometh round, and Sarah shall have a son. Now, I want you to look at this very, very carefully. At the set time, Moed ashuv elecha. Okay? Ke'ed chaya. Again, he affirms, I will return to you the time of life. He doesn't say anything about the season coming around. I'm going to return to you the time of life. U lesara ben. And Sarah will have a son. That's what he says. Then Sarah denied, saying, I laugh not, for she was afraid. And he said, No, but you did laugh. Sachakt, right there. You laughed. And the men rose from thence and looked out towards Sodom, and Abraham went with them and to bring them on the way. Now, this is the reason why Isaac gets his name, but not because of Sarah laughing. You forget, God had already told Abraham that he was going to have a son before he ever came down that day. And Abraham laughed. He was the first one to ever laugh. And so God said for him to name the child Yitzhak. He laughs. Interesting, right? One other thing I wanted to share with you too is in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 30. This one was very interesting to me. God is speaking to Moses, to the children of Israel. This is when he sets before them the good and the evil, right? For this commandment which I command thee this day, it is not too hard for you, neither is it far off. That's the key right there. It's not too hard for you, and neither is it far off. It is not in heaven, that you should say, Who shall go up for us to heaven, and bring it unto us, and make us to hear it, that we may do it. Neither is it beyond the sea, that thou shouldest say, Who shall go over the sea for us, and bring it up unto us, and make us to hear it, that we may do it. You know, it's interesting, those two statements right there, in one of the books from Egypt, it was discovered, and I think it was in the Sayings of Thomas, Jesus is actually quoted as saying, if they say to you, the kingdom of God is in the heavens, the birds of the sky will precede you. Or if they say to you, the kingdom of heaven is in the sea, then the fish will precede you. He's actually quoting and speaking indirectly of the very words Moses says here in Genesis. So if they should say, Who shall go up for us to heaven and bring it unto us to make us hear it, that we may do it? It's not in heaven, neither it is beyond the sea. But the word is very nigh unto you. It's in your mouth, in your heart, that you may do it. Sounds like the Holy Spirit, doesn't it? See, I have set before you this day life and good, death and evil. Let's look at what it actually says in the Hebrew language. See, roe, natati lefnecha chayom. He doesn't say, I have set before you this day. He actually says, I have given before your face today. Et ha-chaim ve'et hatov. Life and good. Now, if you think about it, life, the ha-chaim, is literally that tree of life. Remember right here, ve'etz ha-chaim. There it is. It's the tree of life. But the odd thing is that after the fall, the cherubims were put to guard the way of the tree of life. Now, Moses is setting it right before their face. Ve'et hamot ve'et chara. And death and evil. It's kind of like the good and evil, so to speak, right? And that I command you this day to love the Lord thy God, to walk in his ways, to keep his commandments, his statutes, his ordinances, then thou shalt live and multiply, and the Lord thy God shall bless thee in the land whither you go, and to possess it. But if your heart turns away, thou wilt not hear, but shalt be drawn away, and worship other gods and serve them. I declare to you this day, you shall surely perish. You shall not prolong your days upon the land, whether you pass over to the Jordan to go to possess it. I call heaven and earth to witness against you this day. I have set before you. And again he says it. Life, hachaim, vechamot, and death. Natati lenefcha, okay. I have given before your face, habrucha, the blessing, and the curse, vehakalal. By the way, it is you personally, lefanecha. That right, let me get it there. That letter right there is for you individually. When Moses was talking to the children of Israel, he did not put it for them as a group, as a whole. He was basically letting you know as the individual, you have a choice between life and death, between a blessing or a curse. And he goes on to say, Ubarachata bechaim, therefore choose life, Lama'an tichaycha, that you may live. And again, it's singular. Singular. And then he goes on to say, you and your seed. Ata, single you, not a plural. Ve'zerecha, your seed. One child. To love the Lord thy God, to hearken to his voice, and to cleave unto him, for that is life. Actually, it doesn't even say for that is life, as we have here. We have here, I didn't even highlight, for that is life. But it actually says, ki hu chayach, that he is life. The word he, right there, who. For he is life. As I look at this, length of days, and that thou mayest dwell in the land which the Lord swore unto thy fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, Jacob, to give them. As I'm looking at what I'm seeing here, because it's a continuation of the promise of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, he gives before you that life plural, even though he speaks of it right like that as a singular. It's an individual choice to choose life or to choose death. But it is a choice that we each one face. But when it gets right down to the end, it's almost in verse 19. If that gift is a gift of life for Christ himself. Because that last part, when he says that you may live, you and your seed, that is speaking of the promised coming Son, Jesus Christ, that would be the seed of Abraham. That's why he wanted us to choose life. He knew that individually you would have to choose either life or death. And another thing that it may speak of as well when he says this is another thing that I'm thinking about as well. Could this literally be a prophecy of Jesus Christ? Why, you might say, Brother Steve, why would you say that? Could this have been when Jesus and Barabbas were set before the people? Could it be that this is a prophecy? Because Christ is that tree of life. That life there is in a plural. Ha-chaim. It clearly is the tree of life. But he says, I give, not I set before you this day, but I give to your face this day. Life, ve'et hatov, you could say life that is good, ve'et hamot, that is evil. And the evil and the death are singular, clearly wrapped up in Barabbas. Could it be that Moses was prophesying of the coming of Jesus Christ and the coming of Barabbas because he would set before their face? And the people had to make that individual choice. Would they believe Jesus Christ or would they believe Barabbas? Well, they chose Barabbas. The reason why I say this, though, like I said, is because when you get down here, because he is life, now we get into that singular. We get into the singular. And it is for that life, lema'an tachai ata ve'zeracha. It's a plural, yes, the blessing of a plural of life, but it goes right back down like it was for Adam. He became a living soul. I believe we actually have that up here as well, right? Yeah, here we go right here. He breathes in his nostrils, ipak bepa'av, nishmat chayim, that plural form of life. Ve'yahi ha'adam le'nefesh chaya. See? For the singular part of, for the soul of Adam was that life. But he got it in a plural form. Now Moses is talking about it clear over here in Deuteronomy. And we still see that plural life, that thou mayest live, thou and thy seed. And that life for you to live is singular, you and your seed. Well, it's something to think about anyway. I figured I'd just share some thoughts with you. Stephen Ben-Nun here with Israeli News Live. Thank you for watching. Thank you for the support that you give to our broadcast here, IsraeliNewsLive.org. And if you would, you can always visit our website there. You can donate either online or by mail. God bless you. Thank you for your support.